Madam Chair, we're ready to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to call this December 16th special meeting of the Sewer Port and Commerce Advisory Board to order. Harbor Master Regis, since you're in the room with the flag, would you like to lead the pledge for us?
I'm not in the room, but Benjamin is.
Oh, okay, yeah, Board Member Smith.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which stands one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lots of delays there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Oh, I was using that as my cheat sheet sign. Lemus is unavailable. Lawrence?
Sure.
Paquette?
Here.
Jaffa? Smith?
Here.
Hughes is not available. Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Chair Snyder, you have a quorum?
Thank you, ma'am. That brings us to citizen comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Do we have any citizens wishing to speak for citizen comments?
Madam Chair, we have no early submitted comments. IT, do we have any comments on Zoom?
Does not look like we do. Jason Bickling is online, but I don't see him raising his hand.
Madam Chair, we do not have any online comments.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion we approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Second.
Second, was that Colby?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any discussion on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm reviewing the agenda, and in reference to City Code, the powers and duties of PACAB, I do not believe that PACAB has the authority to approve a membership into an organization as written here, or approve for annual dues.
So you're recommending that we strike that new business item from the agenda?
I do not see in our powers and duties where that is permitted. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay. I disagree, but I would love to have a discussion about it. At this point, if we leave it on the agenda, and there's someone who will, and there's a person who will second a motion to put it on the floor, then we can have a discussion about it at that time. But at the same time, if you want to vote to take it off of the agenda, we can do that here. It's up to you.
Would it be a good thing to enter the? I mean, the city code is public, but would you like to review the powers and duties? I could read those off.
Not at this time. Not while we're just approving our agenda.
Okay.
So at this point, you can request to permanently table the discussion and take this item off of the agenda, and we'll just continue without any new business items, and we can vote on it that way. Or if we leave it on the agenda, then we can have that discussion when we come to it on the agenda.
Okay. I would move to table indefinitely.
Harbor Master Regis?
Madam Chair, what if you had the City of Seward and then Harbor Master as whoever's signing up for it, and then I can just assign it to people on PACAB to go through with it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we were going to discuss is who will actually be on the application. There are other organizations similar to PACAB that have joined. So we're not joining as the City of Seward, we're joining as PACAB. But again, at this point, so there's a motion on the floor to table this. Since we don't have unanimous consent for this, we need to vote. I guess it needs a second if we're going to vote on it. So does anyone second the motion to table the new business item?
I'll second.
Second?
That was
Okay.
from who, I'm sorry?
From Colby.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so floor, now we can discuss it. But again, the only discussion that we can have is whether or not to table it. So you can bring up points that are relevant to that, but we need to just keep the discussion relevant to just it being on the agenda at all.
I'm concerned about not participating in this organization. So it seems like we've got a technicality here that we somehow need to get around. So I'm not in favor of tabling it, because that means it goes away and it never comes back, if I understand that right. Is there a way to explore, so we can't reword this, right? Because we're already in the meeting, so we can't reword it.
You can make an adjustment. Once you got to bring it up to news, but you got to get it there before you can make an adjustment to the heading.
But we could make an adjustment to the heading.
Correct.
So if it were to read, just for the purpose of discussion at the moment, if it were to read something about review, discuss, and potentially recommend to the city that they join on behalf of PACAB, now we get around it? Is that how we get around it?
If we determine that there's something that has to be gotten around. We have a budget that we're allowed to use for things, and this is basically buying ourselves a packet of tools to accomplish the things that are on our set of priorities. Harbor Master Regis.
Madam Chair, to get this going, because we didn't do a lot of traveling and stuff this year, the harbor and stuff like that, the harbor will pick up next year's membership for this, so we can get this going, and we can work on the fundamentals of it for next year. But we can get it going. I'll pay for it out of harbor funds. It's for, it's part of our thing. If it's up to your decision, but I'm willing to do that to make this thing work.
So,
Okay,
if I may, sorry, it's hard over Zoom, but you said it, you're interested in their toolkit, so that's an expenditure of funds. However, that comes only with a membership. So the expenditure is for a membership in the organization, and I think you could recommend to council that the city join, and perhaps recommend that PACAB join, but the Climate Action Plan Committee is an ad hoc committee in PACAB. It's not a chartered city committee. It's a working group, and that would cease to exist, if it loses members or if it doesn't get renewed. So that's probably, it just doesn't seem like the subcommittee could join in that right either. But I would like to point out though that you're interested in joining and agreeing to the terms of membership in order to access a product, but you're not purchasing that product. That's the that ClearPath software is free for members, right? But you can buy it separately, and so we're not debating if we're going to buy the software, but rather join the organization.
That is correct.
Right. Thank you.
So I mean, I feel like there's a bigger discussion to be had here, but since the harbor is offering to pay for it out of their budget, which doesn't require any approval of any kind, then we can table this and we still end up having the membership and the access at the end of the day.
So, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just got a message. Community development can get that membership through their planning. So I just got a text from Jackie about that, so she's watching.
Okay.
Either way, we can make this work.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that. I don't want to sidestep the discussion that we're having that people think that it's not something that's worthy to join, though, and I'd like to talk about that because I'd like a chance for us to have a discussion about it, especially since there is some friction. So I guess what I would request is that we keep it on the agenda, let's open the meeting, and let's have a short discussion about it. That's my request. But if everyone wants to, if you want to table it and we'll have community development and kind of go, the thing I don't like about it is it just feels like back channeling. We're saying we have resistance here, and now we're saying, well, another department will just do it, and I want to have the discussion. So that's my request, is that we allow this agenda item to go forward so that we can have the discussion. And even if we end up voting it down and saying we want community development to do it instead, I would like that opportunity to put that in the public. So those are my comments. But at this point, in order to move forward, we do need to vote on the motion on the floor, which is to table new business item A1, review and discuss and approve potential membership into ICLEI USA for the Port and Commerce Advisory Board's Climate Action Plan Committee. So, Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Just a moment, I was catching up with that motion. I can bring up my window.
So again, a yes vote tables the discussion, and a no vote allows it to remain on the agenda. Just wanted to clarify.
So actually, Madam Chair, you're actually just approving or approving the agenda and consent agenda. That's where you're at. So you just approve the agenda and then it goes forward. It's not tabled.
Point of order, Harbor Master, is the motion is already on the floor for approving the agenda, consent agenda. The discussion has now resulted in a motion to table item A1 from the agenda. So we do need to vote on that first. And then if it gets, if the choice is chosen to be tabled, then we move on to the initial motion of agenda. Okay, so
Board Member Tata?
on the motion to table other new business item 1, review, discuss, and approve potential membership into ICLEU USA for the Port and Commerce Advisory Board's Climate Action Plan Committee. Jaffa?
Vote to table, no.
Smith?
Yes.
Lawrence?
You're muted.
Lawrence?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Paquette?
No.
Chair Snyder?
No.
Chair Snyder, you have 2 yes and 3 no. Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? It's a very simple agenda. Okay, so can we get a roll call vote, please, on the agenda as it stands?
Yes, Madam Chair. Vote for approving agenda and consent agenda with the note that there are no consent items. Lawrence?
Yes.
Smith?
Present.
No, approving agenda.
Present.
Is that abstain?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Paquette?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback from somebody. Paquette?
Yes.
Bruce needs a mute, I think. Me? Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Can you mute Bruce on his? Sorry, technical issues being resolved.
No problem.
Chair Snyder, we have 4 yes and 1 abstain. Motion passes. Agenda is approved.
Thank you. Item 6, special orders, presentations, and reports. We have none. Unfinished business, we have none, which brings us to item 8, new business. Under new business items, item 1, review, discuss, and approve potential membership into ICLEI USA for the Port and Commerce Advisory Board's Climate Action Plan Committee. Okay, so now that we've come to this agenda item, I would like to make one note that the membership that I would propose would be for the Port and Commerce Advisory Board and not for the Climate Action Plan Committee specifically. I plan to make that adjustment, but the floor is open for discussion and would like to hear from you guys.
I think we need to, oh, sorry.
Board Member Paquette?
I think we need to word it so that it reads, review, discuss, and make recommendation to the city to use the Port and Commerce Advisory Board's budget, which we have funds left in, to join this for the purpose of the PACAB Climate Committee
Right.
use.
So one note that I'll say, and I know I said I'd make an amendment, but actually at this point, this is a discussion item on our agenda. It's not a motion on the floor. So anyone is welcome to make a motion at any point that says something similar to that. We don't have to revise the way that it's written exactly on the agenda, but we can put a motion on the floor that's something to that extent. I would love to hear from Board Member Smith. I'd like to hear more about your, you obviously came very prepared, and I appreciate that, and I'd like to hear from you why you feel that this is an inappropriate use of the PACAB budget.
I do not feel it's an appropriate use of the PACAB budget. I do feel that PACAB, I do not see any authority for PACAB to align or to join a international organization, and in their application package, one of the things that you have to do is consent to their new membership bylaws, and if you go to that, it says then it refers you to the association's mission, mandate, and principles as stated in the charter. So then you have to go to the charter, and I do believe it's pronounced ICLEI, just for future reference. I did do my research, and so they have a long list of mandates, and it greatly exceeds the scope of what the Port and Commerce Advisory Board is interested in my opinion. But the fundamental issue I have with that is that there's no authority whatsoever for PACAB that I can see in the city charter that would allow us to agree to terms of memberships of an international, non-governmental organization. So that's and it's more than a technicality. I do not believe that PACAB has the ability to speak for the citizens of Seward in aligning with this organization. It's something that should go before council, where public notice, where the public is expecting these types of agreements to be discussed. They do not expect them to be discussed at the PACAB board. It's just simply not within our purview. So the merits of the organization itself, I think do warrant some discussion, and I would be happy to do that, but I just do not think that PACAB has the authority or it's in the interest of the citizens of Seward for PACAB to take that authority to agree to these membership terms. And thank you.
No, and that point is well taken. And I guess I will I'll take the blame here for wanting this workaround because we need the tools that are provided, and it's a really, really cheap way to get the tools and the support that the membership organization provides. And that was my intent. And so, but you're right to bring this up. And initially, this is, again, I take it upon myself that I was trying to shortcut it, that this was the easiest way because we have a budget and we could do it. It was something that I was told we could do with our funds before the end of the year, and we were trying to get it done quickly. But I understand those concerns, and so I like Board Member Paquette's suggestion, and I would love it if you could make an official motion. I see you, Harbor Master Regis. Just give me 1 second. For us to bring it before council, maybe at the beginning of next year, we can put an agenda item on at our next regular meeting to pass a resolution recommending that the city join using PACAB's budget funds. Although if it's after the beginning of the year, I don't know if there's any way to use last year's. We might have to use 2021, which we didn't use this year. So we didn't use this year's budget. So there's a good chance that that would still work out just fine for us. So Harbor Master Regis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So here's my suggestion. I can't put an amendment in there, but you folks can. So this is my suggestion: to review, discuss, and make recommendations to the City of Seward to become a member of the ICLEI USA for the purpose of conducting for the Port Commissary Board's Climate Action Plan Committee.
I see. So we can do it via motion here, since it's the same, in the same vein of discussion. We just make the motion to do it now, and then that motion goes to council, and we do it that way. Does that sound good to everyone? Board Member Lawrence.
Sorry, I keep muting myself and talking. I agree with Board Member Smith. I guess my concern is after, and I apologize, I haven't been to several of the last meetings, and I apologize for that, but after diving into this a little bit more, I guess I feel like there could be more ramifications for the citizens of Seward with some of their bylaws that Benjamin was just talking about. And those ramifications may not be worth the $600 or whatever, the software, if you were just going to purchase it, I think I heard somewhere around $7,500 or something. And, to save $6,900 on software that we would like to join become a member of an international organization that is going to have stipulations that we have to now follow as a city. I guess I'm just not sure that enough research has been done, and I would certainly think that it needs to go in front of the public as opposed to just our board voting on passing it. So I do like the idea of getting it in front of council with plenty of opportunity for public input, because the more you dive into it, I think that there's a lot more information that we don't have that we need. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Board Member Jassa.
I assume we have a motion on the floor. I don't remember a motion being made to act on this. So we're discussing this ahead of a motion.
That's correct.
And so I would hold my comments until we either have a motion to act on.
Yeah, okay. So let me see if I can remember what Harbor Master Regis said, because I like where he was going with that. So we can make a motion to recommend to City Council that they join ICLEI USA using funds from the Port and Commerce Advisory Board's budget. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. So now that motion is on the floor, and this is where I will respond to, oh, I guess Board Member Jaffa, you want, yeah, please.
Yeah, okay, now we have a motion on the table. Do this. Am I talking to the screen now? Okay. We have a motion on the table. How about now? Okay?
Bruce, can you mute your, the audio?
I can't hear you when I turn my phone off, so. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be
Use
able to.
your computer.
I read through this, first of all, I really don't like organizations that find stuff without spelling out what all the letters mean. But after reading through it with the initial concern about, what kind of a mysterious group this is, I do see it's an international group with some merit. And I'm not sure how it came to us, but it doesn't scare me. And if it is a $600 investment in learning, that it doesn't appear that we're, obviously I agree with Board Member Smith, PACAB is not going to be the member of this, it's going to be the city. But if the city accepts this membership in this group, it doesn't seem to me that we're committing to anything untoward. We're not giving up our constitutional rights or something, but it looks like we have access to a whole world of information that maybe we should be getting through Blue Pipeline or some other group, but getting more information in this era is not a problem. So I'd like to hear more what Board Member Smith has is in his objections, and possibly Board Member Lawrence as well. But at this point, it doesn't scare me, and I would vote in favor of this thing. The $600 investment is not a scary amount based on what we're facing. Now, if there's additional costs, like Colby mentioned about software, I didn't see that in the literature, but maybe it's there.
I can reply.
Don't forget to wait till you're acknowledged by chair,
Okay.
because of the delay.
You're muted.
Board Member Smith, were you saying something?
Oh, Mr. Jaffa asked if I could comment, and I can. I just wanted to let you know. So I will,
Okay.
is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Okay, thank you. So the ClearPath tool, I believe I did some preliminary research on that, and what it looks like. So first of all, I haven't actually mentioned any of my thoughts on and I'm going to say it as ICLEI. It sounds weird, but that's what they say. So I haven't actually talked about that organization, just in our sense of what we can do, but they do in their terms require that that we support their mission and agenda, which is fairly deep, and I welcome that for public discussion if we get that motion on the table there. But on the ClearPath software. So I guess first of all, it's $7,500 for access if you're not a member, $600 if you are a member, but that is a $600 yearly fee, and you do have to terminate in writing if you don't want to access that. But the software is it's cloud-based, and it shares. So it effectively is employing us. So where's the other $6,900 come from? Well, that's the local municipalities going out and doing the work to enter this data, which would be mostly environmental use data from what I can tell, into the software package, which then, you know, who knows where exactly that ends up, but it's definitely shared internationally. And you know, there's serious questions about what sort of data should we be sharing about the city of Seward, how should we be collecting that data, and then who's going to have access to it. And I think it just raises a lot of questions. If we want to do you know, environmental impact studies locally, there's free software from the EPA that will calculate carbon footprints and things like that. Most of the formulas that ClearPath uses are freely available on their website. So as far as future planning goes, I don't, other than getting plugged into their system, you know, it's difficult to see how this would fit into to our community goals. I'm not denying that it wouldn't be interesting and useful, but I think it comes with a lot of strings. And the ultimately, you know, it's a lot bigger than it looks. It's a lot bigger than a $600 purchase. And again, I would welcome this for future public discussion. Thank you.
So one thing that I will note, you're correct in assuming that I have not looked directly at their bylaws, but when you look at their framework for sustainability, I guess in my view, by adopting when the city makes a priority to make a plan, the intention is always to follow through with that plan. And their 5 milestones are basically, I will list them out. First one is to inventory emissions, then establish a reduction target, develop a climate action plan, implement the policies and measures, and monitor and verify results. And in my mind, by saying we're going to make a climate action plan, we're already agreeing to those things, because that's part of what a climate action plan is. You make the plan, and then you implement the policies, and then you see how you're doing over time. I don't know what else they're asking you to commit to, but in my view, it's not something that they're legally holding you to, where they're going to come sue the city of Seward if we don't do these 5 things. It's more like asking us to make a commitment that we care about the sustainability and resilience of our community, and that we're going to take active steps to pursue that. But again, you're right that I saw the big picture items, and I'm looking at a lot of their advertising, and I didn't dig into their specific bylaws, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I would really like to hear where your particular touch points are there, where that seems, where it could put the city in a position where it could put the city in some kind of danger, either legally or otherwise. But the other reason, the reason I didn't find this on my own, the reason that this came to me, and the reason I had the idea to join ICLEI is because Homer and Anchorage are both members, and they have used and leveraged that membership to make their plans and to follow through with their plans. And in speaking with people that have worked on those, they said that it was really useful for them, and I wanted that help. As a member of the committee, we have no resources, we have zero money, and we really need that kind of expertise, which we were hoping to get through the Alaska Climate Cohort. But because that's been put on hold due to COVID, this organization has cohorts that you can join to work on specific issues. You get a dedicated technical advisor that can help to answer questions about how you can do all kinds of readings. I was looking at those value points, and again, I really do appreciate you looking deeper, because I got excited about that and didn't look into the details. So again, if there are specific things that you'd like to bring to our attention, I feel like this is a fine time to discuss that. Because I understand that you're not going to want to vote for this motion and recommend to council that we join if you don't feel comfortable with the city in general joining. So I would love to hear specifically from anyone who has specific objections to the organization.
I would recommend it for council to discuss. That's not my objection to it. So.
Okay. Board Member Paquette?
This organization was formed in 1990, and it was originally known as the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. So that's where the acronym came from. And I think, I'm a little bit of an assumption here, but I think because it's 30 years old at this point, that's probably why they are using an acronym, and it's like over time people forget that everybody doesn't know what this means. So that's what the acronym means, is International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. I'm with Bruce. This doesn't scare me. I don't think that there's a liability that we need to be worried about. But I'm also kind of with you that I'm making an assumption because both Homer and Anchorage have already joined them. So I feel like, especially when you say Anchorage, like maybe not Homer because that's another small town, but Anchorage has money and they have lawyers and like lots of them, and I'm confident that they wouldn't have joined something that had liability that was a concern. So I'm in support of this motion moving forward. Over.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion on the floor? Which again, the current motion on the floor is recommending that City Council join ICLEI USA utilizing funds from the Port and Commerce Advisory Board budget. So we are voting to spend funds from our budget, but it would be council that would be choosing to join ICLEI USA, and the City of Seward would be the member, not the Port and Commerce Advisory Board. Board Member Paquette.
I just wonder if we need to amend that to add the year 2020 so that we specify the funds being these funds, if possible.
Yes, and that I will throw that question to the clerk. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Just from my experience, though, funds have to come out of the budget that they're spent in. So if this is going to be spent in 2021, that's the budget it would be. I think tying a year to that would complicate matters.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think this can go before council before the end of the year. So it would end up being our 2021 budget, most likely. Is there any other discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Roll call for a motion to recommending to City Council that they join ICLEI USA using funds from the Port and Commerce Advisory Board budget. Smith.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Paquette.
Yes.
Jaffa. Chair Snyder.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have a unanimous vote. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that's the end of new business. We have no informational items and reports. That brings us to citizen comments.
Madam Chair, I had no early noted comments. IT, do we have any? There appear to be no online comments.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to board and administration comments. Harbor Master Regis.
Yep, I have none. I think we can work through this, and like I said, council will probably go with it, and then, I think it'd be a good thing to start.
Board Member Smith.
Hey, thank you, and it was a interesting discussion there, and I do recommend with organizations like this that you do take a close look. Some of these things in between now and when council hears about this on their agenda, there's certain items like inventorying greenhouse gas emissions and target reductions and such. And if you think about it, Seward's kind of a special case, right? We're out in a remote location with fairly dramatic climate situations here. This town requires the use of basically the use of diesel fuel to keep the streets clean and the rivers from not overtaking us. So I struggle to see how that this would make a meaningful impact on climate resilience for us. But I do appreciate the information and getting a chance to kind of do a dive into it and see what there is to do. And I do recommend that all members and members of the public take a look at what ICLEI has as far as resources on their website. I'm just starting to scratch the surface. There's a lot of information there that is publicly available on what we can do, and I highly recommend everybody to go take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Paquette?
So thank you to Board Member Smith for his work. I think it was a good catch in terms of us not really having legislative authority to do what we were doing, so I appreciate that. I'm worried about our work sessions, so that's the end of my comments.
Board Member Lawrence?
I guess I agree with Ben on most everything he said. I too dove in, not nearly as deep as he did. So I think it's great that we were able to talk about this and find a good solution to get it in front of council and the public. And I also would urge people just to look into it and form your own opinions, I think.
Thank you. Board Member Jaffa?
Thank you, Chair Snyder and fellow board members. I don't see the damn phone. I enjoy contested discussions, and I really appreciate Board Member Smith bringing forward well-reasoned objections to the initial format, and I appreciate how we were able to work our way through it. This is a little difficult for me to hear this meeting, but I think this is a tremendously important topic that we're going to have to take, as citizens, we're going to have to take control of this, because I'm not entirely sure that we're going to find our national leadership really doing the job that needs to be done. So until a lot of communities like Seward, who may align themselves with international groups from Germany, get a loud voice, this thing's not going to move forward. This thing being, how are we going to reduce our impact on our climate, or how are we going to adapt to that change that we can't change? And I think it's going to be both things. Wear taller boots, as well as trying to keep the water down.
Thank you. I would like to once again just say thank you to both Board Member Smith and to Board Member Lawrence for coming prepared and for voicing your objections. I think too often this board is on the same page, and I think it's great when we can have disagreement, because it's a really, really good point to bring up. I'm happy. I think this is a much better solution. I'm actually much happier having the City of Seward join, or having the potential for that, than just PACAB. So I think that this, in the end, is actually the outcome that everyone wanted anyway. I guess I can only speak for myself. This is the outcome that I wanted. I would like for the city to be the member, and I would like for the city to make the commitment that if we're going to make this climate action plan, that we're actually going to follow through on the policies that or the policy suggestions that we put in there. Just a note about, yes, we are a small town, and greenhouse gas emission reduction doesn't have to do with not using our loaders and not driving trucks. It's often smaller things than that, but also larger picture things like replacing vehicles with lower emission vehicles when they wear out, and having some sort of city policy in place that emissions is a factor taken into account when you buy new vehicles. It's not going to be saying that we can't remove snow from the streets and that we can't do the things that we need to do, because city operations absolutely come first. It's about how do we adapt for the future and how do we do things smarter and better for the city of Seward moving forward, and how do we think about those things moving forward. And I would love for all of you to be involved in the climate action planning discussions, specifically maybe around municipal operations, if that's something that really speaks to you. I think these are great discussions to have, and I look forward to having more of them in the future. I'm really grateful that we were able to come to a compromise, and that everyone was able to have their voices heard. And again, I just appreciate you all so much, and thank you for making it work on Zoom too, even with the technical difficulties. Bruce, I appreciate you pushing through and making it work over the phone. And I look forward to our work session coming up here in 5 minutes. I'm going to recommend that we take a 5-minute adjournment before our work session so that everyone can have a quick break. That being said, I'd like to adjourn the special meeting at 12:54 and recommend that we reconvene exactly at 1 for our work session. Madam Clerk, does that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me. Did everybody hear that? We're adjourned for 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. You'll see the feed cut off.
Zoom will stay up. We won't end the Zoom meeting.
Zoom will stay up, and it'll just be the YouTube that cuts off and comes back.
Okay, thank you.
And,
So,
hold on a
who's
sec,
got the-
just a second.
Go ahead and kill the